Okay, our next project is to divide a circle into 4 even parts and draw a square within a circle and use that as a basis for developing a botanical design. So we draw the circle. We'll divide it in half by drawing a line through the center. I'll widen my compass so that I can find a point outside of the circle to intersect this line in 2. So I set the compass point down here where this vertical line intersects the circumference, draw an arc, move the compass point here, draw another arc, and then use this point of intersection to draw a line through my circle, dividing it evenly into 4. Then to draw a square within a circle, all I'll need to do is connect these 4 points. We've talked about the difference between a rotational pattern and a symmetrical pattern. To remind you, this is a rotational pattern where the shape repeats as it moves around the circle. If you folded this in half, it would not be a mirror image. So we'll start with drawing a smaller circle within this one to use as a guide for our design. I'm choosing a smaller circle size at random. And then I'll draw one edge of my leaf. Or of my petal, rather. So I'm bringing a straight edge out to this smaller circle. And then I'll use that point. Let me make it a little darker. From this point, I'll go to this corner to develop this pattern, first as a geometric form, and then I'll come back and soften these lines with a hand-drawn rounded edge. Notice that I've gone past, if we were to look at the halfway mark of this 90-degree arc, this would be about the halfway mark, and I've brought the edge of my petal a little bit to the left so that I can have overlapping petals. Then I'll use my compass again to measure the distance from this point. Let me make this circle darker. I'm measuring the distance from this point along this inner circle to this point on the vertical axis. So I'm looking at that distance. I'm narrowing the compass down a little bit to measure that distance. Then I swing this arc over here, draw a small arc to see where it intersects the circle. That gives me the point here to draw my other petal edge. And then I go from this point to this one. I'm using the same measurement. I'm taking the distance from this point to this one, okay? Bring the compass to this point because I'm going to draw my next petal. So I set this point down where the smaller circle meets this horizontal axis. Swing a small arc to see where it intersects here. Swing it in the opposite direction and here. And then draw my next petal. And we see the edges of my petal are overlapping as they usually do in nature. I take that same measurement, remember to measure from this circle where it meets one of the horizontal or vertical axes, depending on which petal we're drawing. So I'm going from this point to here. I'm keeping this distance. I'll move it down to the next point on this vertical axis. Swing it in an arc in either direction. Use these points of intersection. And you see I've got the next petal overlapping. This is my last petal. Move it to this point. Now I have 4 overlapping petals of my flower. Right now it's in mirror symmetry. We could fold it vertically and we'd have a mirror image, or we could fold it horizontally and we'd see a reflection above and below are the same. To turn this into rotational symmetry, I could eliminate some of these lines. So I'm going to outline this in violet and show you how to turn this into a rotational symmetry. This petal overlaps this one and comes behind this one. And now you see that it's a little bit different. I just got rid of these edges. They're now tucked behind the petal beside it. A little more lifelike. To emphasize that, I'll put in some shadow. So this petal is overlapping this one. I'm going to add just a little bit of what's intended to be a little bit of a shadow. It is, of course, easier to draw in rotational symmetry by turning your paper. Even in mirror symmetry, it helps to be able to turn your paper. And then, of course, to make this look more natural than geometric, I could round out these hard edges and soften this line. And again, it's much easier to turn your paper to get the natural arc of your handwriting.